Welcome to our PoM podcast for mindfulness and tolerance. In today's new release of Season 1, Episode number 13, our moderators, Robert and Joanna, dive into the topic, how to break free from Black Friday chaos. Beside its cultural impact on a global scale, they unfold the psychology and real costs behind this shopping frenzy, and do not miss with some smart and sustainable shopping tips.
Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep into Black Friday this time around.
Yeah, should be pretty interesting.
We've got a really eclectic mix of sources on this one. We've got some articles talking about responsible shopping from like a Christian perspective.
Oh, wow.
We're also looking at the potential financial risks of, those buy now, pay later programs.
Yeah, BNPL.
And then we even have some stuff on worker protests and a look back at the very beginnings of Black Friday.
Interesting.
Oh, and even some alternatives like Green Friday.
Right.
We're going to try to touch on it all, everything from environmental impact to the global economic outlook for Black Friday.
So really Black Friday from all angles.
Yeah, we're going to try to uncover a whole lot more to Black Friday than just scoring those great deals.
I think a lot of people don't realize just how much this one day impacts, well, a lot of things.
Yeah, it's like truly global.
Yeah, and all the consequences that come with it.
Exactly. For the economy, society, even the planet.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. How it all started as this, localized event, and now it's this global shopping frenzy.
It's crazy, right? When you really look back, it all started pretty innocently. The term Black Friday actually originated in Philadelphia way back in the 1950s and 60s.
Oh, wow. That far back.
Yeah. And here's the kicker. It wasn't retailers who coined it.
Really? I was just assumed.
Nope, it was the police.
The police.
Yeah. Apparently the day after Thanksgiving was just pure chaos. All these shoppers flooding into the city from the suburbs, causing huge traffic jams.
I can see it.
It even led to shoplifting and other, not so great incidents.
Wow, so the term was born from, crowd control concerns, not profit celebration.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty ironic, right?
Big time. But retailers definitely didn't take long to catch on.
Oh, absolutely. By the 1980s, they'd totally flipped the script, turning Black Friday into their symbol for profit.
It's like a master class in rebranding. Taking this term associated with chaos and flipping it to mean, in the black, making money.
It's brilliant, honestly. And of course, that profit-driven model spread like wildfire. We have this article that talks about Australia. They hit a whopping $8 billion in Black Friday spending just last year.
$8 billion. Just in Australia.
Yeah, just there. It's unbelievable, right? And it's not even just a single day anymore. It's a whole Black Friday weekend morphing into this 4-day shopping extravaganza.
Wow, right, with Cyber Monday tacked on at the end.
Exactly. Cyber Monday, the Monday after Thanksgiving. Yeah. Essentially, it's just Black Friday's online counterpart.
Makes sense.
But it really shows how deeply ingrained this whole thing has become in our shopping culture.
For sure. It's more than just a day. It's an institution at this point.
Exactly. But as we'll see, there's a lot more to think about than just snagging those deals.
Definitely. What are the real costs?
Right. One of the reports we have from Alliance actually paints this really interesting picture of two totally different retail landscapes, the U.S. and Europe.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So in America, sales are booming, especially among wealthier consumers.
That makes sense. The ones less affected by economic downturns.
Exactly. And they're actually driving a 7% growth in spending this year.
Wow. 7%? That's significant.
Yeah, it is. But then across the pond, Europe's recovery is way less uniform. Some countries are seeing modest gains, but others are really struggling.
Ah, so a real mixed bag over there.
Yeah. The report really highlights how sensitive European retail sales are to, consumer confidence. Any economic hiccup can really shake things up.
Yeah, making them more vulnerable to instability, I bet.
Right, exactly. And that's not something you really see in the U.S. to that extent.
Makes sense. They seem to be weathering the storm a bit better.
Yeah, American consumers are definitely feeling more optimistic overall. But the report does point out a potential problem even there. It suggests that Trump's tariffs could end up hurting lower-income households.
Oh, how so?
Well, because they might actually put a damper on their spending power, if prices go up.
Ah, right. It all trickles down.
Yeah. It's wild how these larger economic policies can have such a direct impact on individual spending habits.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Everything's connected, right? But speaking of economic impact, this report also shines a light on this challenge to retailers' profitability.
Oh, yeah. That doesn't sound good.
It's a little ironic, actually.
How so?
Well, because Black Friday, the day all about getting in the black,
Yeah.
making a profit, is actually putting a lot of strain on retailers' bottom lines.
That doesn't make a lot of sense.
It is kind of counterintuitive, isn't it?
Yeah. Why is that?
It's a few things. Sales volumes are decreasing, and at the same time, operating costs are skyrocketing. And that combination is really eating away at their profit margins.
So, like, they're making less money and spending more to do it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's a tough spot to be in. And on top of all that, there's this whole other layer of complexity.
Oh, what's that?
A lot of retailers adopted this stockpiling strategy in response to COVID and the war in Ukraine.
They were trying to get ahead of potential shortages,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. But now it's kind of backfired. They're stuck with all this excess inventory.
Oh, so now they have to figure out how to get rid of it all?
Exactly. So what are they doing? Slashing prices.
Oh, so even more Black Friday deals.
Yep. They're offering all these deep discounts to try and move all that extra stock. But here's the catch. Those aggressive markdowns end up eroding their profitability even further.
It's like a vicious cycle.
Exactly. It's a classic case of supply and demand. When supply is way higher than demand, prices go down and profit margins shrink.
So how are retailers supposed to deal with this?
Well, the Alliance report actually outlines two main strategies they're using. One is, of course, price cuts and promotions.
To try and, like, entice those bargain hunters.
Right. Yep. They're really trying to lure in those price-sensitive shoppers, especially for, essential stuff like groceries, household goods, personal care items. Things people need no matter what.
Makes sense. Got to appeal to those on a tighter budget.
For sure. And then their second strategy is kind of the opposite.
What's
Going upmarket.
Oh, interesting. Targeting those with more disposable income.
Exactly. They're focusing on the premium and luxury segments because, well, wealthier consumers tend to keep spending even when the economy takes a hit.
So they're trying to appeal to both ends of the spectrum.
Pretty much. It's fascinating, isn't it? Catering to both the bargain hunters and the luxury shoppers.
It really speaks to the state of the consumer base right now. Some are thriving, and others are just trying to make ends meet.
Yeah, it's a tale of two consumers, you could say.
Okay, so we've looked at the history, the economics, but now let's talk about something that's become super popular, especially around the holidays. Buy now, pay later.
Ah, BNPL. It's convenient, flexible, but it can also be a bit of a slippery slope.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize the potential risks.
Debt trap waiting to happen if you're not careful.
We have this report from Credit Spring, and it has this crazy statistic. 16 million people in the UK alone have no clue that BNPL can lead to debt.
16 million. Wow.
And get this, the lack of awareness is even worse among younger people.
Oh, no. They're the ones most targeted by these programs, too.
Exactly. Over half of 18 to 24-year-olds actually think BNPL is completely risk-free.
Oh, that's a recipe for disaster, especially with Black Friday just around the corner.
I know, right? And BNPL companies are expecting a massive spending surge during the holidays.
They're probably rubbing their hands together right now.
Adobe's predicting a whopping £3.7 billion will be spent through BNPL in November and December alone.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it? That much money in just 2 months.
It's insane, and TSB research found that 56% of Black Friday shoppers are planning to use some kind of credit, with BNPL spending projected to rise 77% compared to last year.
So credit cards are taking a backseat to BNPL.
Yeah, seems like it. The convenience is hard to beat.
Right, but it's still credit.
Exactly, and it comes with the same risks as any other type of loan.
A lot of financial experts are starting to sound the alarm bells.
Yeah, we have statements here from Neil Katagathar, the CEO of Credit Spring, who's really concerned about shoppers just not understanding the risks. He's urging these lenders to be way more transparent about the potential downsides of using BNPL.
Makes sense. It shouldn't be buried in the fine print.
Exactly. And then you have advisors like Neil Reditz from Debt Rescue and Benet Sager from Debt Busters.
Yeah, they're the ones really dealing with the fallout.
They're urging consumers to be way more cautious, prioritize needs over wants, and just steer clear of using credit for Black Friday purchases, especially with the economy being as shaky as it is.
Sound advice. Especially now when so many people are already struggling with the rising cost of living.
It's so easy to get caught up in all the excitement and deals.
Right. And then before you know it, you've overspent and you're in a debt hole.
BNPL can be helpful if it's used responsibly, but it's definitely not a free pass to live beyond your means.
Agreed. It's all about financial awareness, making informed decisions that actually support your long-term financial goals.
Okay, so we've covered the history, the economics, and the financial risks. But now, let's talk about something that often gets overlooked. The environmental impact of Black Friday.
Yeah, all those mountains of packaging, the carbon emissions from shipping.
Exactly. And the sheer volume of stuff that just ends up in landfills.
People forget that the planet pays the price for our overconsumption.
This report from World Counts has this crazy statistic. If everyone lived like the average American consumer, we'd need 5.2 planets to sustain our lifestyle.
5.2 planets. There's only one.
Right. That's just not sustainable.
Not even close. It's clear we're exceeding our planet's capacity, and Black Friday, with all its emphasis on, buying, is a big part of the problem.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people think recycling fixes everything, but it's really not that simple.
Oh, definitely not a magical solution.
Take cardboard, for example.
It seems pretty recyclable, right?
It is. We have this report from Reuse-A-Box, and it points out that even though cardboard has a really high recycling rate, over 70% in the UK last year.
That's pretty good.
It is. But it can't be recycled infinitely.
Oh, right, because the fibers break down over time.
Exactly. Eventually, you need new pulp, which comes from trees.
So it's not a truly closed-loop system.
Nope. And it's a good reminder that even though recycling is important, it shouldn't be our only solution.
We should be focusing on reducing our consumption and reusing things as much as possible before we even get to recycling.
Reduce, reuse, recycle. In that order.
Exactly. Recycling should be the last resort, not the first line of defense.
Now, speaking of reusing, what about all those cardboard boxes that come with your Black Friday purchases?
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Reusing those is a super simple way to, actually make a difference.
Every little bit helps, right?
This report from Reuse-A-Box says that reusing a box even just once can save tons of water, carbon, and energy.
That's awesome.
They say that every ton of cardboard reused saves, get this, 148,352 liters of water, 0.7 tons of carbon, and 4,315 kilowatt hours of energy.
That's incredible. I had no idea it was that much.
Right. So before you chuck those boxes in the recycling bin, see if you can reuse them.
Or even get creative with some DIY projects.
Totally.
It's all about moving away from that throwaway culture.
And embracing a more circular economy.
Speaking of which, let's shift gears and talk about the social side of Black Friday. Those Amazon worker protests happening this year are shaping up to be pretty big.
Yeah, they're calling it Make Amazon Pay.
And they're scheduled for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, right?
Yeah. And get this, they're going to be happening globally.
Wow, global!
It's a huge collaboration between UNI Global Union and Progressive International, and they're planning protests in all these different countries like the US, UK, Germany, France, Japan, Brazil, Turkey, and a bunch more.
It's like a united front against Amazon.
They're trying to hold them accountable for, alleged labor abuses and the environmental damage from their massive operations.
It's a big deal. I mean, Amazon's reach is everywhere.
Christy Hoffman, who's the General Secretary of UNI Global Union, said, and I quote, "Amazon's relentless pursuit of profit comes at a cost to workers, the environment, and democracy."
Powerful statement. It really gets to the core of the issue.
It makes you question the true cost of our convenience and whether these big corporations have a responsibility to prioritize ethical and sustainable practices.
Absolutely. It's time to hold them accountable.
So we've talked about the financial risks, the environmental burden, now the ethical concerns. But is there another way? Can we step back from all this consumerism?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Well, there are actually alternatives gaining traction.
Oh, that's good to hear. Like what?
One that's getting a lot of attention is Green Friday.
Green Friday. I like the sound of that.
It's all about a more sustainable, responsible approach to the holidays.
So instead of Black Friday's buy mentality, Green Friday is more about conscious consumption.
Exactly. It's about aligning your actions with your values,
So what do people actually do on Green Friday?
Well, the greenfriday.org website suggests spending time in nature, disconnecting from tech, reconnecting with loved ones, things that don't involve buying stuff.
That sounds amazing. Soaking up nature instead of fighting crowds at the mall.
Right. It's about finding joy in experiences and connection, not material possessions.
I love it. But what about businesses? Does Green Friday encourage any kind of shopping?
Oh, absolutely. But the focus is on supporting local businesses and ethical brands that are doing things the right way.
So companies that are prioritizing sustainability and fair labor practices.
Exactly. It's about putting your money where your values are.
It's about voting with your wallet, basically.
Yeah. And showing that you support a healthier planet and a more just society.
It's so refreshing to see this kind of movement gaining momentum, like a genuine alternative to the Black Friday madness.
It's a good sign. And Green Friday isn't just about rejecting Black Friday. It also encourages acts of kindness and community support.
Oh, I love that.
Instead of battling for the latest gadget, you could volunteer at a local charity, or even just check in on someone who might be struggling.
It's a beautiful way to flip the script.
Right. It's about remembering what the holidays are truly about.
Connection, generosity, gratitude.
Exactly. Not just getting more stuff.
Green Friday sounds like the perfect antidote to all the Black Friday chaos.
It really does.
We'll dive deeper into all of this in part 2. Stay tuned.
While life moves fast, your mind deserves a moment to pause. At PoM, Peace of Mind, you get slow fashion for empowered living. From sustainable apparel to mindfulness practices, podcasts, and blogs, we accompany you to find your inner balance in every breath. Explore and visit pomshop.nl, where mindfulness meets style. PoM, Peace of Mind, Happy Life.
It's really amazing to see how much momentum Green Friday is gaining, especially in Europe.
Yeah, it's catching on.
We actually found an article about these French merchants who are totally boycotting Black Friday.
Wow, really?
Yeah, they're completely rejecting it and choosing to promote, sustainable and ethical alternatives instead.
That's a bold move.
It is. But it's really putting their values front and center.
Yeah, they're walking the walk.
And it's not just France. We also found this really cool article about Earthsong.
Earthsong?
They're a jewelry company that's totally committed to eco-friendly practices.
Oh.
Yeah, they've built their whole business model around sustainability, using recycled materials, minimizing their environmental impact.
I love that. It shows that profit and sustainability can go hand in hand.
Exactly. It's not an either-or situation.
And honestly, I think embracing sustainability is a really smart business move these days.
Oh, totally. Consumers are way more aware of the impact of their purchases now.
They want to support companies that are doing good.
Exactly. So Green Friday isn't just about, saying no to Black Friday. It's about offering a real, positive alternative.
An alternative that benefits everyone.
Yeah, shifting the focus from mindless consumption to mindful choices.
Yeah, from me to we.
Exactly. Speaking of real people, we actually found this Reddit thread where people were talking about their own struggles with Black Friday shopping.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was really eye-opening to see those real-life dilemmas people face.
Like what?
Well, this one person was talking about how they wanted to buy yarn during a Black Friday sale. But they were totally conflicted because on one hand, it was a great deal, but on the other hand, they were worried about, contributing to overconsumption.
I think a lot of us can relate to that.
Right. It's like this inner battle between wanting to save money and wanting to shop ethically.
It's tough. You don't want to miss out on a good deal, but you also don't want to buy things you don't need.
It's a tricky balance.
But what I found really cool about this thread was that it wasn't just people complaining about Black Friday. They were actually sharing tips for approaching the sales more responsibly.
Oh, that's awesome. What kind of tips?
Well, one person said to make a list of things you actually need before you even look at the sales.
To avoid those impulse buys.
Exactly. Another one emphasized supporting ethical companies that are participating in Black Friday instead of just going for the biggest discount, no matter where it's from.
I love that. It's about being intentional with your purchases.
Right. There were also some interesting arguments about, the potential benefits of Black Friday.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
One person pointed out that these sales could actually help lift people out of poverty in developing countries.
Because that's where a lot of these goods are manufactured, right?
Exactly. And they argued that economic empowerment could actually lead to a more environmentally conscious future down the road.
That's an interesting point.
But then other people pushed back on that argument, bringing up, exploitative labor practices and unsafe working conditions in some factories.
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin.
They said that ethical consumption means considering the entire supply chain.
Not just the final product.
It's complicated, right? There's no easy answer.
Definitely a lot to think about. But it's a good reminder to be aware of all the different angles.
The thread also talked about using Black Friday as an opportunity to buy really durable, high-quality items that will last for years.
Oh, that's a good idea. Investing in quality over quantity.
Exactly. It's about shifting away from that fast fashion, planned obsolescence mindset.
And embracing things that are built to last.
One person said they were going to buy a new kettle on Black Friday because their old one had finally broken.
Makes sense.
And they were happy that the sale allowed them to afford a really nice one that'll hopefully last them for years.
That's a perfect example of a sustainable purchase.
And someone else said they were going to buy yarn on sale to knit a sweater.
Oh, I love that.
It's so cool to see people finding ways to use Black Friday to support their creativity and make things that'll last.
Yeah, it shows a real shift in thinking.
So even though Black Friday can be pretty problematic, it doesn't have to be all bad.
It's really about how we choose to engage with it.
We have the power to make choices that align with our values.
And support businesses that are doing good things for the world.
Okay, so far, we've covered the origins of Black Friday, the impact on the global economy, the rise of BNPL, and the ethical and environmental concerns.
We've also looked at alternatives like Green Friday and heard from real people about their own experiences.
It's been a really fascinating exploration of all the different layers of this phenomenon.
Black Friday really is a reflection of our consumer culture, and it brings to light some of the bigger issues we face as a society.
Yeah, like economic inequality, environmental sustainability, even our pursuit of happiness in this world of, constant stuff.
It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
And there's actually a whole other layer we haven't even touched on yet. The psychology behind Black Friday.
Oh, right. Why do we get so caught up in the frenzy?
Yeah, what makes us act in ways we normally wouldn't?
That's a great question. And that's exactly what we'll be exploring in part 3.
While life moves fast, your mind deserves a moment to pause. At PoM, Peace of Mind, you get slow fashion for empowered living. From sustainable apparel to mindfulness practices, podcasts, and blogs, we accompany you to find your inner balance in every breath. Explore and visit pomshop.nl, where mindfulness meets style. PoM, Peace of Mind, Happy Life.
Okay, so let's dig into this. The psychology of Black Friday. Why do we get so swept up in all the craziness?
It's really a fascinating mix of marketing and psychology. Remember that article we read about the environmental impact?
Yeah.
It talked about how Black Friday really taps into our fear of missing out. That whole FOMO thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's if you don't act now, you'll miss this incredible deal, even if you didn't even realize you wanted the thing in the first place.
It's so true.
Retailers are masters at creating that sense of urgency, that scarcity.
Making you think you have to buy it right now.
Or you'll regret it forever.
And it works.
It does. It pushes us to make these, impulsive decisions. Stuff we wouldn't normally do.
It's like they're playing mind games with us.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And then we read that other article, the one that actually questioned whether Black Friday should be banned.
Oh, yeah, the one by the psychologist.
Yeah, exactly. And they were arguing that, Black Friday is designed to make us feel like our happiness depends on buying all this stuff.
Like our well-being is at stake if we don't buy.
Exactly.
It's kind of messed up when you think about it.
It is. It's like this Pavlovian response almost.
You see those flashing sale signs and suddenly you're like, gotta have it.
Right. And it's all tied to these deep-seated emotional triggers.
Like those childhood memories of holidays and presents and excitement.
Exactly. Retailers know exactly which buttons to push.
To get us to open our wallets.
It's not just about FOMO, though, or even manipulation.
What else is there?
There's this whole social element to Black Friday, too.
It's become this big cultural event.
Yeah, for some people, it's like a competitive sport.
I could see that.
There's this thrill that comes with being part of the crowd, snagging that amazing deal before anyone else.
Like you've won.
Right. Validation for your shopping skills.
I've totally felt that rush before. A few years back, I managed to get the last discounted TV at this Black Friday sale.
Oh, wow.
And I felt this, surge of adrenaline. It was like I'd won something, even though I probably didn't even need a new TV.
It's that dopamine hit.
Makes you feel good, even if it's kind of silly.
And then social media just amplifies it all.
Oh, yeah, with everyone showing off their Black Friday hauls.
It's like a whole feedback loop of consumerism.
But what about the people who don't love Black Friday?
Right. It's not all fun and games for everyone.
Some people find it super stressful.
Definitely. It could be a source of a lot of anxiety, financial pressure.
One of our sources mentioned this study that showed credit card debt in the U.S. is skyrocketing, the biggest increase in over 20 years. And a lot of that is driven by holiday spending.
It's a reminder that Black Friday can have real consequences.
Especially for people who are already struggling financially.
Right. There's this pressure to keep up with the Joneses, to spend.
And it can lead to a lot of debt.
And then there's the impact on retail workers.
Oh, yeah, they get the worst of it.
They're the ones dealing with the long hours, the crazy crowds. And often for not great pay.
It's not fair to them.
And it kind of makes sense why those Amazon worker protests are happening on Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
It's like they're using the biggest shopping days of the year to bring attention to their cause.
Exactly. Highlighting the fact that these deals come at a cost.
And it's often the workers who pay the price.
So yeah, Black Friday is this really complicated issue.
It's economics, marketing, psychology, social pressures, all wrapped up in one.
We've got to be really aware of all the different factors at play here.
And make sure we're making choices that align with our values.
And not just getting swept up in the hype.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Black Friday, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away?
I think the most important thing is to approach Black Friday with a critical mind. Don't just blindly buy into all the sales and marketing.
Be a conscious consumer.
Exactly. Before you buy anything, ask yourself, do I really need this? Does this purchase align with my values? Am I supporting a company that's doing good in the world?
Great questions. And remember, there are alternatives.
Green Friday being a prime example.
A way to focus on experiences, connection, and mindful consumption.
It's not about deprivation, it's about intention.
Exactly. So whether you're a diehard Black Friday shopper or a Green Friday enthusiast, just remember to be conscious, be intentional, and be kind.
And remember, the true spirit of the holidays isn't about stuff. It's about connection, gratitude, and generosity.
I couldn't have said it better myself. We'll leave you with this final thought. If Black Friday is about getting a good deal, what's the best deal you can give yourself this holiday season? Something material or something more? Something that truly nourishes your soul and makes the world a little bit brighter. Think about it. Until next time,
Thank you for watching and listening. We hope you found your inner peace with our podcast. Keep yourself updated and join us on our next episode. Stay safe and healthy, and have a good day. See you soon.